Okay. So fast forward now, you're in New York City, and like you are obsessed with Dave Attell's Insomniac, and now you're working with Attell at the cellar. What's that like, man? What's that like? I'm
Yeah,
assuming Attell's probably your biggest influence slash favorite comic, maybe? Is that fair to say?
yeah, he's definitely one of them. And I would say like him and Gaffigan were my two big ones.
Yeah.
And for Gaffigan, I when I was still in Cleveland, I like sent him an email when I saw his special because like that was before he was famous.
Yeah.
And I used to correspond with him. I even did some early. I had a like link in my profile because I was doing like freelance graphic design stuff
Yeah.
and illustration, and I had a link in my email signature. And he saw it, and he ended up hiring me to do some early T-shirts for him.
That's awesome.
Um, but yeah, we would correspond over the years, and so when I got to New York, it was I'd already been in it for quite some time.
Hmm.
Um, so I knew a lot of headliners. I didn't know Dave, but I would run into these people, and I did, as far as like the seller goes, or like being on the same show as Dave, or bringing him
Yeah.
up and all that shit. Like that was definitely surreal when it finally happened because I didn't get past the seller until I was already in New York for like 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
So I was already 13, 12 or 13 years into comedy, something like that.
Okay.
Um, but it's one of those things where you're like, it's super cool. You try not to think about it, and
Yeah.
then also part of you is just like, you get to that point where you're like, well, I'm at work right now,
Yeah.
so I don't think about like, I think about it when I'd be riding the train home,
Yeah.
and like, it would be like, oh, Dave, because if you MC, he'll
Yeah.
like riff with you from the stage and stuff
Okay.
sometimes. And one of the first times he did that, I remember like in the moment, I'm just trying not to like, I'm just trying to be funny.
Yeah.
And then, but then afterwards, I'm just like, oh my God, if you'd have told me like, hey, this is gonna happen, but not for like 14 years.
Yeah.
Like the day you start, somebody goes like, here's what's gonna happen. Like in 14 years, you're gonna get to work the Comedy Cellar and like, just kind of bat the shit
Yeah.
with this guy.
Have you
And
talked to
well, that's the coolest
Attell?
thing.
Have you talked to Attell? Been like, dude, you're the
Um,
reason I do this. And is he like,
I've
oh,
never said anything like that
oh, okay.
because I don't think he would enjoy that. In fact, I know he would not enjoy that. He he's not somebody like that. You can talk to him. He's approachable,
Hmm.
but he's definitely like he's exactly what you think he would be. You know what I mean? He doesn't like turn it up. He's just like sequitur jokes, and he kind of grumbles, and,
Yeah.
and you know
So,
it's exactly what I don't know. But he's a super sweet guy.
well, that's cool. That's cool to hear. Yeah, I've heard that
And
about
and
him.
same with
But
Gaffigan. Like running into Gaffigan was like I remember I hadn't talked to him for a while,
yeah,
and we ended up on the same show,
yeah,
and it was like a really good show. And I was like, "Hey man, it's really cool to see you here." And he's like, "Hey, how have you been?" He's like, "I guess you're doing all right if you're on this show with me." So I'd like to give you advice, but it looks like you figured a lot out. Um,
Well,
but it
that's
was
cool.
nice to be able to like, because anytime I've like talked to somebody younger,
Hmm.
and then I see them like actually continue, I see them like 4 or 5 years later, something that's happened once or twice.
Yeah.
I'm always just like, oh, cool, you didn't give up, or you didn't get shitty, or it's
That's
like,
cool.
okay, cool, I didn't waste my breath
Yeah.
talking to you,